Well, there it is, folks. That is the music. If you didn't know it was Wednesday, that music should let you know it's a wacky Wednesday right here on Women of Grace Live. It's a wackadoodle Wednesday. That's our new phrase here at Women of Grace Live. Sue and I like that. Sue Brinkman is with us. We're going to get to those calls right away. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. We've got Michael McCall taking the calls today. He's our call screener. Out there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page, as well as our text messages. I think it's Pedro that takes the text messages too. Pedro Quiles doing all of that collecting and retrieving and getting the info up on the board so we can address it. So don't be shy. Give it a try. Don't delay. Call right away. We want to hear from you today. Also, you can leave that comment for us there at EWTN Radio's YouTube channel and Facebook page. So don't be shy about that either. Text us. Text the letters EWTN to 58177. Wait for our response. Put in your name, tell us where you are and how you're listening, and do leave your question or comment, of course. We'll get that retrieved and know that message and data rates may apply that way. So I just want to mention something, that EWTN is always doing things, as well as Women of Grace is always doing things. But EWTN, I'll tell you, what a comprehensive broadcasting network this is. When it comes to media, EWTN is in every media opportunity that's available in terms of a medium. And, they give us all kinds of wonderful, wonderful ways in which we can dive more deeply into our faith by way of programming, both on television and radio, through religious catalog, and the marvelous things that are available for us, too, there. But we do want you to know that EWTN's website is a very, very robust website. So just go to EWTN.com, and you can find out all kinds of great information from the library that is there, but also about a lot of the saints. And so we've got lots of comprehensive documentation on saints who serve as theologians and doctors of the church, for example, all kinds of beautiful heroes of the faith that we know as the saints. So get out there to EWTN.com and click Catholicism, and a whole world of exploration will open up for you. So take advantage of that opportunity. Well, I want to take advantage of the opportunity right now to welcome my friend, my colleague, and our researcher for the New Age, Sue Brinkman. Good morning, Sue.
Good morning. Boy, you're really rhyming away today. Michael McCall's taking the calls away right away. That is so... I thought, woo, she's on her game today.
Well, and it only happens on Wednesdays.
I know. Every time I hear that music, I think to myself the same thing. How did I get here? Why is this my theme song?
How did this become my station in life, right? Yeah, which I do.
Thank you, Jesus. I hope you know why I'm here. Oh, my goodness.
Well, we know why you're here, because you keep us straight. You help us to stay on that narrow path and not wander off to all of the fables that are tickling at our ears in this contemporary day and time in which we live.
Well, we never run out of them, do we? We really have some issues out there. We had a kind of a pretty heartbreaking email from somebody about this recovered memory therapy and what it did to her family when somebody, said someone in the family had abused another family member. Of course, it wasn't true, but it completely tore that family apart. So that's the blog that I had really ready for today. I was able to do some research into this. Not only what recovered memory therapy is, but I did find out the good news, and there's a link in this blog for anybody who may want to look into this, that there is the False Memory Syndrome Foundation, which is out there, and that was put together by a very prestigious hospital. They help people who have had all kinds of fallout from this kind of recovered memory therapy. We heard a lot about it during the pre-scandal, because people would say that they suppressed this memory and then it came out during a trance, hypnosis session, and that the University of Pennsylvania, by the way, that's the university where it's set up in Philadelphia, Johns Hopkins Medical Institution in Baltimore, the two of them together. So you've got some very prestigious organizations there that have put this together for people who are suffering from this. But if you remember Cardinal Bernardine, he was falsely accused in 1993 of abusing a young man. And he said later in his life that accusation was worse for him than the cancer that eventually took his life.
Yeah.
This is very destructive. When you start to look into it, you just want to weep. And you think, how did this get so out of control? I do have a chapter on it in my book, The Learn to Discern Compendium, that does get into it pretty deeply. But I was still able to uncover some even more recent information. And RMT, recovered memory therapy, that's an umbrella term for several different types of unproven methods now. These are unproven for recovery of memories. Hypnosis, guided imagery, sedative hypnotic drugs are being used to do this. And the proponents of it claim that traumatic memories can be buried in the subconscious and that this can affect current behavior until they're recovered, and brought up onto the conscious level and then dealt with. But the research doesn't support that. It doesn't support the idea that a person can repress a memory and then recover it accurately. And that's where it gets very interesting here. I didn't realize this before, but researchers have described that the brain's capacity to construct and invent reality from the information it processes, it has that capacity to invent stuff from what is stored in there. So the research has shown that memory is a process that constantly undergoes adjustment and reconstruction. It's very malleable. So a memory might actually consist of fragments of the event. And then you're engaged in, say, subsequent discussions about it or readings about it, or other people talk to you about it and make suggestions about it. And that all gets mixed up in there with that memory, even the memory that's buried in your subconscious memory of that event. So memories of life events can be easily altered by outside factors. So that memory can be changed by the passage of time. And you're and
don't we know that, just in a very simple way, when people are recalling events that they shared together, for example, people within a family will remember an incident that occurred, but their memory of that incident is very different. It might contain some of the same facts, some of the same, strains of activity or whatever the case may be, but they'll often remember it differently. And of course, that makes sense because the impact of that memory on each individual is going to be different based on their personality, based on their emotional makeup. Based on what you're talking about, the capacity of the brain to embellish, dress up or dress down certain kinds of things. And I think that some of this, and I don't know because I haven't looked at the research, years ago, there was a lot that was going on about repressed memories. That's, now they're calling it recovering them, but these are repressed memories. These are memories that are buried very deeply inside. And, here's the thing too, that I think that we have to be aware of is the fact that some of this I think is providential. I think some things are can be so very difficult and so very painful that until the psyche is able to deal with them, until perhaps the emotional makeup of the person has grown to a certain extent or developed to a certain extent, it can almost be like a protective mechanism,
Yes.
I don't know. I don't
true.
know if there's any research on that, but it seems to me that it would make sense, right? Because the Lord is a very patient healer. He, I know that in my own area of inner healing for wounds of the heart and things like that, he does reveal, but it says in scripture, he's going to reveal everything that's hidden, but he doesn't say that all of a sudden you're going to remember all of it. Things happen sometimes incrementally. And of course, as you say, it's subject to a lot of other, fragments of memories and thoughts and what you hear about the event and situations like that.
Absolutely. For me, it's more like fragments. I remember fragments of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I have a very vivid imagination, that's why I really need to be writing fiction because I need to be able to exercise that and give it a place to do work where it's not hurting me or hurting anybody else. Because I have a tendency, I am very imaginative and very visual in my imagination in that. But here's the thing that kind of scares me, it kind of creeps me out, is that it's relatively easy for a therapist who's working with you to plant a false memory into you during hypnosis or something like that. And even they're not trying to, but they may be trying to like suggest things to lead you on in this hypnosis process, and in that way they're introducing things to you. Like we all know about the past life regression. This is like totally made up, but in this, the patient can experience some confusion between the actual memory than their own imagination about it. When that happens, that results in what they're calling now false memory syndrome, or FMS, false memory syndrome. And that's where you really begin to believe the false memory.
Right.
Even though it's destroying your family.
Yeah.
Some of these stories on that foundation's website, Johnnette, are just heartbreaking. One woman whose husband was accused of sexually abusing their daughter claimed that the mere accusation was enough to drive up his blood pressure and eventually cause him to suffer a massive stroke, and he died from that.
Oh my gracious!
It's horrible.
Yeah,
it is absolutely horrible. It shatters family ties. These accusations, they could lead to devastating financial strain, right? Due to the cost of, then they have to go defend themselves in court, costing many their homes, livelihoods, life savings. Thankfully, courts nowadays, they are not allowing testimony from people who have been hypnotized for the purposes of recovering memories. Most U.S. courts are now refusing to accept that testimony. The American Medical Association stated as long ago as 1993 that recovered memories, they say, are of uncertain authenticity, which should be subject to external verification.
Wow.
And that the use of those memories is fraught with problems of potential misapplication. And that's just to the people who aren't suffering from the memory. And imagine how the person who's suffering from that memory and then believes this, and all of her own relationships then are shattered by these things. It's a very, very dangerous thing. Be very careful in therapy. Because we all know that because of mindfulness and all this other stuff that they're trying to do in therapy. You got to be careful who your therapist is and what kind of thing they're employing in there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And we have often talked about the dangers of hypnosis. There might be a place for hypnosis, but it is something that has to be approached very, very carefully. And in many cases, it should not be the first option. If it's used at all. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986 is the way that you can join us. I want to get out to Andy. He's been holding since the beginning of the show, Sue, and he is in Billings, Montana. First-time caller, ringing my bell. Good morning to you, Andy. How are you?
Morning, guys.
Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Are you okay there, Andy? Andy?
Can I hold on?
Well, I don't know. Something happened there. I hope he's okay. It sounded like a wild animal, and he is in Montana. I don't know. Oh, dear Lord.
Oh, something could have happened there. Yes.
Yeah. That was interesting. Call back, Andy, and let us know that everything's okay. Please do. 833-288-3986. That's 833-288-EWTN. Cleve with us in Maryland. We'll go to Cleve, listening to us via Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Cleve.
Hello.
Good morning. You're
Hello.
on the air. You're on the air, Cleve.
Yes. I would like to ask Miss is Sue Brinkman there right now?
She is.
Yes.
I'd like to ask Miss Brinkman a question. I was, those like rock singers or famous celebrities when they give hand signals, like hand signs, like the horns, and as the two fingers in the middle are folded while the hands at the edges are like horns. So the reason why I'm asking is a coworker of mine at my job, he wanted to congratulate me for doing like a successful work, but he gave me a souvenir with that hand signal sign with the two horns, the two fingers at the edges like horns. I need to know, because I just for the safety of protecting my spiritual, life and everything, and because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want people to get offended. But is that the sign of the devil?
It can be. That's a very good question, because it can be. It's often called the sign of the horns, the devil horns. So I would be careful where you give that, because some people may see it that way, but that's not the origin of that hand symbol. That really it's Italian actually, and it was to ward against the evil eye. So it's a form of superstition. That's really where that comes from. And that heavy metal vocalist, his name was Ronnie James Dio. He's credited with popularizing that sign. And he drew his inspiration from his Italian grandmother, who used it for protection against the evil eye. So it can mean that. It can mean the devil horns, but it's mostly it's a symbol for protection against evil. And it's also a sign of a great solidarity among fans. They often will do that, and that's kind of a show of solidarity. But like I said, the sign of the horns can be looked at that way, and I don't know that I would walk around in public, flashing that sign, because somebody may see it that way and be offended by it. So probably be something better, maybe a thumbs up, or whatever. You might be a little safer with that. But that's a really good question. I think I might write something on that and just clarify it for us about that rock. And it's called the rock and roll hand sign.
Yeah.
So yeah, good question about it, but I'd be careful using it.
Yeah. If the thumb is extended, if you're doing that with the two fingers, the index finger and the pinky finger and the thumb, that is a sign that means love in sign language. But when that thumb is when that thumb is tucked in, and you just have the index finger and the pinky finger, that's the rock on, or the sign of the horns. So it can mean anything. I'm looking at a site that's showing these symbols. It can mean anything from rock on to infidelity or devil worship. So, you don't want that. And that's probably what he was indicating. My guess is because you were doing such a good job, it was like a rock on, that kind of a thing. So I wouldn't assume that he's meaning something ugly about it. But if it makes you uncomfortable, I agree with Sue. You don't want to have anything that makes you uncomfortable. So I hope that helps you, Cleve. Thank you for your call. Andy is back with us, which makes me abundantly glad. And we're going to come to you, Andy, if you can hold on. We've got to go to a break. We'll come right back and take your call. We're eager to hear from you, too. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288. 3986 is the toll-free number for you here in North America. Country code 1-205-271-2985 is the number if you're outside of North America. Coming right back to Andy in Billings and Sue Brinkman with us today. Stay tuned.
It's the freshest, cleanest, best-smelling James the Less ever. Yes, he can dance.
It's little. I prefer James.
But can he become Catholic?
My world has sort of been turned upside down, and I'm starting to like it.
Ooh. An all-new season of James the Less, streaming now at EWTN.com/James the Less.
This is a Pro-Life Minute with doctors Stephen and Gracie Christie.
Steve, here's a pro-choice argument that really upsets me. The one that says abortion empowers women and it's essential in order for women to have equality with men.
Right, it's a strange argument because abortion has never empowered women. It's empowered men, though, empowered them to use women for sexual pleasure without any long-term consequences. Abortion has normalized men's ability to use, exploit, manipulate, abuse, and then abandon women. And somehow they say this empowers women?
You know, what really empowers women is to see their children and fertility as blessings, not threats. It's a perversion of feminism to believe that women and children are each other's natural enemies. Women shouldn't have to kill their children to achieve their dreams or fully participate in society. If a pregnant woman or mother can't participate in society, then something's wrong with society, not with their fertility. I think that's a true feminist response.
EWTN is looking for qualified people to fill a number of exciting positions. Make a difference using your God-given talent. Visit EWTN.com/employment today.
Matt Swaim here. Tomorrow on the Sunrise Morning Show, we'll talk Bible foods with Rita Heichenfeld and get you all the latest news, weather, sports, and a whole lot more. Now back to Women of Grace with Johnnette Williams.
Join in on the conversation. The Women of Grace phone lines are open. 1-833-288-EWTN, 1-833-288-3986.
Well, welcome back, everybody. You're listening to Women of Grace Live. I'm Johnnette Williams. It is Wednesday. I am joined here by Sue Brinkman. It's a Wacky Wednesday. We talk about wackadoodle things right here. We want to hear from you. What do you see that's going on out there that's a little crazy? 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986 is the way that you can join us here. And prior to the break, we tried to get Andy on the line from Billings, Montana, and he was on shortly. And then it sounded like a Montana animal. He came in, and we just don't know what happened. But Andy's back. He's safe and sound, apparently. So he is a first-time caller, and I'm ringing my bell for him again because he's back again. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Good. How about you?
Fine, thank you. Everything okay there?
Yes, it is. I just had to hang up quickly, and now I'm back. So
goody. Okay.
Yeah, my comments, and it could be a question for you. You had a Wacky Wednesday theme, and I really appreciate the show because it's just very good at deconstructing Oriental, just weird religions, that have infected our Western culture now. And well, one thing I wanted to add to the list of things that corrupt us today is music. I found that I have a personal affinity for heavy metal music and even extreme metal. And I found that listening to that stuff enough actually corrupts my ability to listen to the voice of God or to want to listen, because I'm receiving these other constellations from the metal music, from either the music itself, the instruments, or from the lyrics. And I know it's not just metal. It seems like other genres do the same thing, like hip-hop and rap and pop and electronic music that's really loud and really boisterous and has very emotional lyrics. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Well, let me comment, and then I'm going to throw this straight to Sue. But, Andy, I just think your observation is absolutely smack right on. No question about it. I grew up in the 60s and 70s. The music was very, very formative in negative ways in my life experience at that time. And I think that it does have a direct effect on our emotions. It has a direct effect, I think, on our relationship with God. In many cases, the lyrics themselves are anti-God, anti anything that is good and true and beautiful. And the beat of the music and the intensity of the music also, I think, is very disturbing. And Sue, I remember really well when my kids were growing up, hip hop and rap was really, really popular at that time. And I used to tell them, turn that music off. It's jangling my spirit. It just made me so ill at ease. And I didn't want that to be hammered into their heads. And of course, by the same token, it's only gotten, I think, more risque and worse in certain genres.
Oh, absolutely, it has. But I just want to commend Andy, on just his self-knowledge, his ability to look himself in the mirror and see what's there, and say, hey, you know what? This is bothering me. This is making me into somebody I don't really want to be. I'm confused. It's confusing me about hearing the voice of God. I mean, I think that's really good. A lot of people, will make excuses for themselves, really, Andy, but you're not doing that, and I think that's great. There are, by the way, some white metal bands. You probably know that, but Striper, Living Sacrifice, Extol, these are all metal, but they have strong Christian lyrics in it. So that there's an option there. I mean, if you like metal music, and not all metal music is bad. It's not all bad, but there definitely is some that is. I mean, we all know about Marilyn Manson, who was always had very satanic imagery in his band, in his videos, in his music. Everything was extolling the devil and that sort of thing. So definitely the lyrics in that can be very, very bad. There's also a thing called backmasking, and this was something that, the Beatles popularized that. John Lennon accidentally played tapes for the song Rain in Reverse, and he liked the way it sounded, and so he shared that with the other Beatles, and then they just started doing things with that. They experimented with the speed of the music, reversing tapes and that sort of thing. So one of them played in reverse. Lennon says, "Paul is dead, man. Miss him, miss him, miss him." Remember that, Johnnette? I remember when that happened. It was on the White Album.
Yeah, it was a big thing with the Abbey Road. I remember the Abbey Road album. I had it, and it showed the Beatles walking across the street, and and Paul didn't have shoes on, so that lent to the myth that he was dead. Yeah, all of that. Oh my gosh. How many years ago? Oh, let's not talk about how many years ago that was. It was a long, long time ago.
I know. That'll make us sad. No, but some of that backmasking, some of those messages can be very satanic, and they have in the past. There's different examples out here. I have a whole blog on this. I wrote this up last year. Is it true that satanic messages can be hidden in rock music? And by the end of the blog, you'll see that yes, it is, and it is being done, and it has been being done. But also the pitch of that music, and that's something that Andy said, that he would get constellations from the music, and you can confuse them with constellations from the Holy Spirit. These are some of the in the transmission and the pitches of this music is what may cause that, and some of these artists deliberately try to put together a signal that disorients a person when you're hearing it, and it acts on your subconscious and that sort of thing. So you got to be careful.
I would
with
think
music.
It would act on your nervous system too.
Absolutely, of course, it would have to have an effect on that. You're right. You're absolutely right about that. So anyway, and also you got to remember that the brain produces a natural drug as a result of that kind of stimuli. So you can become very addicted to this music because it's kind of making you feel kind of weird and funky, and you like it. That can happen too from listening to music. So there's a lot of things that can happen with music. I love music. It puts me in the right mood. When I have to clean, that's the one thing I do is I put on my earpods, and I just turn on Spotify to my library, and that's how I clean. Listening to all kinds of music. I like all kinds of music. So anyway, this is a good question, and it's something that I think everybody should really stop and take a look at. What kind of music are you listening to, and what does that do? What does that do for your spiritual life? Is it enhancing it? Is it bringing you closer to God? I remember years ago, Johnnette, when I was just coming back to the church, I couldn't even remember my rote prayers at that point. That's how long I'd been away from Catholicism. And what I used to do was I would play instrumental music, and I would put on the headphones and lay on the living room floor and think about God.
Mm-hmm.
I would just think about him. Like, what does he look like? Where is he? I know I would get like these images in my mind, and I would just lay there and think about it. It was always instrumental. I didn't want any words. No words. I just wanted the music. And so it really can connect you to God. Good music, Gregorian chant can connect you to God. Absolutely. But others cannot, and drive a wedge between you and him. And I think that, Andy, that was a great question. I'm glad you called back.
Yeah, me too.
I'm glad you got us back for sure.
Yeah. And I just want to comment on your comment to Andy about self-knowledge. So, and something else that you said that I think is very, very important, Sue, and that is like to ask yourself that question: is this leading me closer to God, or is it taking me away from God? What are the passions that are excited within me when I listen to this? And of course, I'm using the word passions in the sense of Thomas Aquinas there, the appetites, is it raising up things that are helpful for me in my walk? Is it making me feel more loving? Is it making me feel more kind? Is it giving me a sense of peace, a sense of security? Is it opening up something within me that makes me want to draw nearer to God? Or is it exciting passions that can lead me into sin? Whether they're sexual passions or imaginative passions that can take us down deleterious routes. What's the effect on me? And once we isolate that, then we have to move in the direction that's to all that is good, all that is true, all that is beautiful. And again, Andy, as Sue says, you have a command of that already. So you move away from that. And the other part of that is, and of course, I love music myself, Sue. I'm not a heavy metal fan, whether it's Christian or not Christian. I'm just not really sure that, that, and I guess everybody has a different sense of what is beautiful. But I just, I sometimes think the imitation of that is not helpful either. But that's a personal opinion. That's Johnnette's opinion on things. But thank you, Andy. I really appreciate your call today. Thank you so very, very much. Here's an interesting question that we've got from Joemma out there on YouTube. And by the way, we've got time left, friends. 833-288-EWTN. That's 833-288-3986. Some really good questions coming in. And here's another one from Joemma on YouTube. She says, non-dominant handwriting therapy for journaling. Do you have any information on this? Non-dominant handwriting therapy for journaling. Now, I'm not quite sure that I understand the question. I would suppose I'm left-handed. It would be me trying to write with my right hand. What is that supposed to do for me? I'm not really sure.
Okay, I'm just looking it up now because I don't have a blog on it. So this is another good one that I'm going to work on for sure. But journaling with your non-dominant hand. They're saying that, and I want to know who this is and where this is coming from, of course, that it can be a very valuable tool for accessing different parts of yourself and fostering creativity and self-discovery. So the practice is sometimes called inner child journaling or right-left hand dialoguing, and it can help access emotions, intuition, and inner wisdom. So there's a kind of red flag phrase there for me is inner wisdom. And because it taps into the side of the brain that's not typically used for dominant handwriting. So I want to see where this is coming from. One of the articles out here I'm seeing is coming from internal family systems, and this is something that we talked about not long ago. In your internal family systems can be problematic. We'd be very, very prudent. We warned Christians in their choice of facilitators because there's many benefits to the therapy, but there are definite areas of concern in there in this internal family system. And I think that you need to be careful with this. I will go ahead and do something a little bit more in depth on it. Supposedly in emotional expression, inner child work, but I want to know, what's the science behind this?
Yeah.
Is this really something that's very good? If I try to write with my left hand, I'm right-handed, I wouldn't even be able to understand it, let alone get something out of it. My left hand, the whole left side doesn't want to work right. Now, maybe that would help me to get a little bit more ambidextrous. I don't know. But, yeah, this non-dominant hand thing looks like it's a pretty deep subject, and I'd really like to dig into it because I love doing that. But, yeah, there's a lot out here on it. There's a lot.
Well, we do know that the brain is plastic. There is a plasticity, and we do know that people that have, for example, lost an arm, their dominant arm, are able to continue. The brain will compensate, and they'll be able to use the what once was the non-dominant hand or arm to achieve certain skills. So we do know that the mind can create new neural pathways. We also know, though, that the brain is organized differently based on what your dominance is. So I'm left-handed, so it's my right brain is more dominant. It's the opposite. So the hemisphere that typically would be your your more logical, analytical side is different for me as a left-handed person than it is for a right-handed person. It's just opposite. So it's just very interesting the way the brain can compensate. But when you start to look at things like this, and you're talking about unlocking this and unlocking that, I mean, I don't really know. It'll be when you do the research, Sue, I know it's going to be good research. You'll be able to tell us how scientifically based this is.
Yeah, I'm saying that they're using it. I'm looking at something from Vanderbilt University. It's used in helping to mitigate the cognitive decline in Alzheimer's disease patients. But they're calling for further research, meaning obviously it's not particularly established yet, but it is, and there's different kinds of methodology that they use. This is a very interesting subject, and I think it's something we ought to take a look at, because especially I think the person who Joemma is for journaling, just for journaling, and yes, I'm just wondering, that if this has some sort of a spiritual connotation. Is this for spiritual journaling? The kind that we would do a prayer or something like that. I would like to see how its application is to that. But that's a good question, Joemma. We really thank you for sending that in. We'll get some more information out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got Eric with us. Eric is in Chicago, Illinois, listening to us via WSFI. We're so happy you're with us today, Eric. Good morning. Good morning. What's your question?
Good morning. I had a question on these instruments called, actually there's a couple of names. There's like panda drums, valley drums. They're like these spherical instruments that you tap with sticks to make these bell sounds. And I guess I wanted to get one for my kids, and I was wondering if anything that's frequency-based, if that's permissible, because I know they have a lot of music on YouTube where they say, like, if you listen to this song at this frequency, it will generate this. And I don't know if I believe in that stuff, but I just wanted your opinion on that.
Well, thank you, and thanks for checking before you go and purchase the item for your children especially. So there you go, Sue. Tell us about it all.
Yeah, and the frequency-related stuff that you're talking about, we do have a blog on that, and you're right. There is nothing to it. Scientifically, there really is nothing to it. The panda drum, it's called a steel tongue drum, and it creates a very soothing sound, and it's used for relaxation, for meditation, for stress release. So the drum itself, there's nothing wrong with the drum itself, but it's how you use that drum. So if you're going to be getting into, yoga type meditation and stuff with this, or Eastern meditation where you're blanking the mind and that sort of thing, then it could be problematic. But the panda drum itself is not, there's no problem with that. It's how the panda drum is used. That's really what you need to be careful about.
Yeah.
Is how it's being used.
Yeah. Out here looking at it really quickly, there's a lot of information on this under Panda Drum out on the internet, but here you have something published by the Yoga Journal. My new favorite mindfulness accessory is a drum. And so, it talks about its mesmerizing effect. So now, we know that in and of itself, like you're saying, Sue, the drum is morally neutral. It's what we do with it, I think, that creates a problem. So, and of course, I know that there's a huge New Age industry that uses these what are they, the singing bowls and all of these kinds of things.
Singing bowls are very big, yes, for meditation. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So you just want to be careful and moderate it. What attracts you to that particular drum as opposed to a regular drum, Eric?
More so that they claim that it's simple for everyone to use, and I just like the idea of something that will help with the creativity of my child's development. But if there's something like it's instinctively inside the drum that when you play it leads you into a form of meditation, I would not want them to I don't know. I guess I would prefer them not to necessarily meditate abstractly, but I would rather. I don't mind the soothing effects, but I just thought it would be a cool investment for just allowing them to kind of use their brain for creative thinking and to stimulate their brain rather than having to go to some type of tablet or technology-based system.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think it's beautiful the way that you're thinking. Just the fact that you want to provide for your children, for the creative side of your children, which I think is a lovely thing, because we're all created in the image and likeness of God, and who is God? He is the creator. So we all share in that aspect of God, and it's the way in which that particular aspect of God is displayed within us, and trying to find that and make that available for our children to enjoy that aspect of their own being in reference to God is a lovely thing. I mean, I think it's beautiful.
I think that is too, and I think that like I said, the drum itself is not a problem.
Right,
very soothing, melodic, melodic type of sound that it produces. I think the children would really like that, actually. So you'd be okay with that. And as far as the frequency thing, don't worry about that, because first of all, it doesn't work. So it's not really going to do anything to you. So you don't have to worry about it. It is out there. A lot of people think it is, but I don't know how old your children are. Are they young? Are your children young?
I have from 12 all the way down to 5 months. I have 6 of them.
Oh, God bless you.
Okay, so if your oldest is 12, I really don't think you really have to worry about any of this. I would say, like, if it was a young adult, they may decide, I'm going to use this. Everybody uses it for meditation and that kind of thing. Then I might be a little bit concerned about it. But if it's because he might be lured into that. he or she might be lured into that. But I wouldn't worry about the panda drum itself. I think that would be maybe even get him interested in the drums, period. And he would start getting into drums or music
and the
in
other
some
thing
way. I think he'd develop that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're a very involved dad, Eric. So you can see what kind of an effect it's having on your child, and you can go from there.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for your call today, Eric. I just think that is so beautiful, to receive a phone call from a dad who, is interested in helping his children, and not that dads typically are not, but to express, I want for my children to express their creative side. I think that that's beautiful. We put so much emphasis today on developing other kinds of skills, athletic skills, which I think is fine too. I'm not putting it down, but we don't want to ignore the one for the other. We want to develop the whole person of our child.
That's right. That's right. And the thing that I also like about it is that he took that extra step to reach out and ask a question, and he did it in a venue where now anybody else who's wondering about that, now they have an answer too. Yeah. So it's very helpful. It's a nice way to very broadly get an answer to a question that's not just for you, but now it's for anybody else out there who might be worried about not just panda drums, but this whole frequency thing in music and that. And I just think it's a good thing. It's a good thing that he took that extra step, and that's saying that, there's the Holy Spirit at work. That's what I see in that. And saying,
yeah,
you know
me
what,
too.
go ahead and call in there and ask them, because the Holy Spirit might know who else is out there wondering about stuff like this. So it's always a good idea to do it, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think so too. And I think it's one of the benefits that we have with regard to Catholic radio is that we can use this medium, this radio medium, the airwaves, to communicate the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ, but also to ask questions such as this that instruct us and guide us in the way in which we should go, lest we fall off that narrow road and find ourselves in trouble. Well, so it's been wonderful being with you. Covered a lot of good topics today. Thank you so very much. Going to look forward to some of these blogs you're going to get on. I can't wait.
Yes, for sure.
Friends, you can access all of Sue's writing for us at womenofgrace.com. Right out there in the New Age blog, you can access the beautiful 1,800 questions and answers by topic by using the search engine there. So all kinds of good things. Her compendium is available for you at EWTN's religious catalog. That's EWTNRC.com. Until we're together again, may God richly bless you. Bye, Sue. Bye, all of you. God bless you. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Pedro. Thanks, Michael. Bye.
Father Benedict Grosch